what was really difficult for me about the weight loss journey, and sometimes it's even difficult talking about it because I still remember what it was like to be somebody who was afraid and who wanted change. And every day I hated myself in the beginning, up until the point that exercising regularly and changing my habits made me feel good.
Yeah.
And so when I think about it and when I tell other people about it, I feel that all at once. You know, it was definitely a journey. It had a lot of hard work in it, but what I also want people to understand is that I don't like being addressed about it as if I'm exceptional. What I want other people to understand is that this is something they can do themselves,
Yeah.
and and that they should do themselves, and they need to either love themselves enough or hate themselves enough in order to be able to get started on figuring it out one day at a time.
In essence, Garrett Steenblik wants his fellow owner-operators and truckers to know, if it is your goal to lose weight, to get healthy over the road, you can do it. Today on the Overdrive Radio podcast, a bit more encouragement and information about how Steenblik himself did it, but also how he's marshaled a network of docs and a program under the Truckers Body Shop company name to help. I'm Todd Dills, your host for this podcast edition for Monday, November 25th, 2024, and know that Garrett Steenblik today is a whopping 200 pounds lighter than when he began his weight loss journey. He's moved out of the KW he teamed with his wife in for nearly a decade, now devoting full-time efforts to get Truckers Body Shop off the ground, as he explains here.
I just got off the road in August to take care of standing the business up, going into trade shows. I hired a driver to drive with my wife. Right now, she's out over the road driving at Tri-State Motor Transit Co., where owner-operator is running specialized freight over there.
What's you guys' truck, and what kind of trailers are you pulling, if you're pulling trailers at all?
We do flatbed, we do dry van, occasionally we'll do other models, we'll do reefers. It just depends on the situation. We do it all. But we drive a T680. I'm a big Kenworth guy. It's a 2023 with the cut sides down that have the little LED light in it that makes it look like a really slick race car.
Clearly, there's pride in the rig for the owner, even if he's out of the truck today. It's that pride and hustle and all the work required to make a success out of a one-truck business that sometimes can lead to a feeling he's certainly identified in himself. Maybe you notice it in you, too.
And a lot of other owner-operators feel that their health has to take a back seat to work and to the lifestyle. And by the time, usually, we're off the road, we want to be with family. You know, we don't want to really focus on trying to match our home time around with meeting up with a doctor. So we designed Truckers Body Shop to be able to provide access to a physician, to help them with specific conditions, and for them to be able to get that medication delivered to them on the schedule that works for them, so they don't have to compromise visiting with their family or doing what they need to do.
We'll hear much more about the particulars of the program in the rest of this episode. On the other side of a break, we pick up with Steenblik's personal history in the business of trucking, likewise his health journey, where he learned plenty about the bedrock importance of diet and exercise, but also the supports and effort like Truckers Body Shop strive to provide. In some ways, the goal of weight loss can be a product of basic math, something any owner-operator who's ever figured up their cost per mile knows well. Certain
people, walking was a big part of my journey, because if you just walk an hour, you're burning 200 to 250 calories in that hour instead of sitting around and burning 40 to 70 calories in an hour staring at your phone looking at cat videos.
Keep tuned for more.
If you're in an area that's going to get a dose of winter, you need to protect your diesel with Howe's Diesel Treat starting today. When used at every fill-up, Diesel Treat is guaranteed to prevent gelling, remove water, and add lubricity, making sure your truck or tractor is ready to go and performing its best. And if you face crazy cold temps, make sure you have a safety net. Howe's Diesel Lifeline. Keep it on hand for gelling or icing emergencies. It's a lifesaver that's sure to get you up and running in 15 minutes or less.
Find more about the Howe's Company's many fuel treatments and other products, including its Howe's multi-purpose penetrating oil, via HOWES, houseproducts.com. Here's Garrett Steenblik, harking back to his beginnings in trucking about a decade ago, in a traumatic episode at a fuel island that would ultimately set him off to launch Trucker's Body Shop.
Trucking started for me when I was, I believe it was 23. Memory's a little fuzzy there, but I'll tell you, I got into trucking because I was really lost. I went through a lot of physical and sexual abuse growing up, and it made it very hard for me to find what made me happy because I wasn't happy. Then I met my wife, and my wife and I had strengths and weaknesses that played off each other, and team truck driving seemed like a great thing to do because we could be around each other, we could support each other, and we'd have the means to exploring the country and making money. So we went into truck driving and started with Transport America as a team. Before that, I trained at Everett Express. And then we worked at Boyle Transportation for a few years. And from there, we got our own truck. It was a T680. And it was a 2018 or 2019, I can't remember. And we hopped into heavy haul and oversized freight. We did that till the work ran out, running solar batteries and running wind turbine parts out west. And then we got into specialized with Tri-State. I'd say I've been in trucking for about 9 years now. My name is Garrett Steenblik. I am the CEO of Trucker's Body Shop. We're a specialty pharmacy and telehealth support company. We were created specifically to tackle the obesity crisis inside of truck driving. I myself lost 200 pounds while driving cross country. And as I grew this business, I realized that we could do significantly more than just help truckers lose weight and provide them access to the tools and resources to do so safely and to keep that weight off. We could offer them the ability to quit smoking. We could offer them a better sex life. We could offer them the means to take control of many of the different problems that they deal with over the road, including helping them address small problems that can become big problems later. For me, over the road, I had a really traumatic experience. After I was recovering from my loose skin surgery, I got back on the road, and I encountered a driver in the fuel island next to me. And I watched him get out of his truck. He weighed like 400 pounds. And I watched him grab the diesel pump after putting in all the numbers. And by the time he was placed it in the fuel tanks, he was out of breath. I'm going to get a little emotional here. I apologize.
Right, that's a problem.
And he collapsed on the ground.
Oh, no.
And he's banging on the side of the cabin. I rushed over, and his wife comes out, and she's on the top step. She's looking down at him, and the shock in his eyes and the fear in her eyes were burned into my brain. And I realized in that moment that the technology existed to do something about this, and that I had to get this done. I had to make it so that situations like this were far less common, because if I hadn't lost the weight myself, I could have been this guy on the ground with my wife out there worried if I was going to die in a slimy puddle of diesel right in front of her. So that's where we came from. We're here to solve problems. Formal founding of the company started back in May, but I built this company while driving over the road. It just took a lot of time for us to be able to put together a doctor network that could serve all 50 states, to be able to put together a pharmacy network that could deliver everything that we needed, and for us to compile all the resources that we would need to offer in order to be able to positively impact drivers.
When did your own weight loss take place, and how? I mean, how did you do that while you were over the road?
So my weight loss journey started around 10 years ago when I started trying to run some of the weight off, and I got into trucking. I gained a lot of that weight back, and my health spiraled out of control. And I remember, for me, the defining moment was when I was bent over a toilet and I was puking my guts out. And I got up and I looked in the mirror and I saw with puffy eyes that I hated the guy who was looking back at me, and that I had made him. And that it was my responsibility, whether or not I had the answers, to fix this guy and turn him into somebody that I could love and respect. And it was very difficult at first. I lost about 100 pounds very quickly. I would say in a period of 9 months, just by eliminating soda and just by running and and running in place 45 minutes a day. But I didn't change my diet. I wasn't eating nutritious food, and my body was deprived of essential nutrients because everything I ate was processed junk. And I relapsed, started gaining the weight again. And it was very frustrating. I almost gave up. And I got introduced to a weight loss program made by a guy by the name of Bob Perry, who's also known as the trucker trainer.
You'll for certain find some mention of Bob Perry's past training work, in-cab exercise routines, and the like, among other efforts, if you search for it at overdriveonline.com.
And Bob taught common sense strength training. He taught whole food diets. He taught moderate physical activity, getting out, getting active when you could. And I started implementing that, and I got some great results. The weight started coming off again. And then I was really feeling a lot better mentally and investing in myself.
Teaming with his wife at Boyle, he got a bit of a reputation for his efforts, too.
Whenever we were stopped, I was so dedicated to the weight loss journey that I told myself I had to work out every day, no matter what. So if we were getting loaded, I'd wake up, I'd hop out, and I'd do some push-ups. I'd run around the truck. I'd do body weight exercises, and the shippers would be like, "What's that man doing?" And my wife would be like, "Oh, he's working out. He's lost 80 pounds already." Georgian accent. and then I do it if I had the time. I do it on my 30-minute break. You know, if we were parked for the night, waiting to get unloaded, I'd get out, I'd walk. It just, the way I did it without being bored was like, I get an audiobook, or, you know, I'd listen to Spotify, and I just allow myself to experience what it was like to challenge myself and to let go of my past and be in the present. And eventually it became a habit that filled me with joy. And I was doing it at all the shippers, and I got this reputation at Boyle for doing this. It was really funny because on my birthday, I have a picture of a message that the operations team sent me there. I love those guys. They're so wholesome. They said, "Happy birthday, Garrett. Do some laps around the truck and eat some kale cake." That is my favorite picture in all of trucking, man.
You'll see that in the image and the cover of this podcast wherever you're listening. Yet find it in full in the post that houses this edition of Overdrive Radio at overdriveonline.com/overdrive-radio. Along Garrett Steenblik's journey to dropping 200 pounds of extra weight,
and I learned about keto, intermittent fasting, and how to track your daily caloric intake. So a big part of what we do inside of Trucker's Body Shop is we help people contextualize what options are available to them on the road, kind of like a field guide. Mm-hmm. And we help them with a tool similar to the one that helped me lose the weight, that allowed me to understand the fundamentals of, oh my gosh, well, if I'm just sitting in a truck all day, how many calories do I burn existing? Okay.
Right.
Well, how many calories do I burn if I add in a little bit of activity? Okay. So how many calories are in the food that I'm eating, right? And this becomes all incredibly complicated unless it's very simple with something like a barcode scanner or an AI powered tool that we offer that allows you to pull up millions of food from the databases that are offered by the US Institutes of Health and the USDA. So it makes it a lot easier once you understand what foods won't make you feel bad as you're losing weight and will allow you to continue to have energy so that it's sustainable. You understand what kinds of exercises are easy to implement into trucking and with the limited time you have. And then it becomes sustainable and assurable when you have the tools that help you make the situation about math.
Calories coming in, calories going out.
Yeah,
Um,
and it becomes so
the
much easier too when a doctor is working with you to get you on a medical weight loss program in conjunction with all of these things. And that's what we're offering is the same medications, the same active ingredients as Ozempic, as Wegovy, as Mounjaro.
those medications were you was that part of your weight loss, or it sounded more like your weight loss started anyway, simply as diet and exercise? Did you also benefit from the medications?
I did benefit from the medications. I wouldn't be comfortable with recommending to prescribe them to anyone unless I had. Uh,
Right.
when I lost the weight, I had to undergo loose skin surgery, and it was a really big operation. And I needed to
Wow.
eat a whole lot of food while constantly laying down because it's an abdominoplasty, right? They're going to cut your stomach open, they're going to take off a bunch of skin. And so I had to recover and I gained 30 pounds during several months of laying down and making sure my body had enough nutrients. So after I got into the weight that I wanted to naturally, I took the weight loss medication to lose the weight that I had gained from recovering from the surgery. And
Right.
I had a really positive experience. It was very good for my mental health, and the weight came off very easily, and I've transitioned off the medication. What's really exciting about these medications is that they help people who are struggling with losing weight. I'll give you an example, such as my wife, who
Mm-hmm.
may drive at night and dieting, keto, intermittent fasting, these things may be something they really struggle with and they might not get results from because the hormones are working against them.
Right.
So, in the case of my wife, she's lost 30 pounds in a period of about a month and a half taking these medications as a night driver, which is incredibly challenging. She finds it very difficult to throw in a significant amount of physical activity to help her lose weight. And what these medications do for the people who take them is they enable them to not experience a sense of urgency towards their hunger.
Mm-hmm.
It turns off the receptors that control cravings so that people feel fuller more easily. They don't feel this nagging sense that they have to constantly eat. It helps regulate their blood sugar. And ultimately, this leads to them being able to more easily stay in a caloric deficit and be in a position where their body is also less inflamed. And if you think about the body, you don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but as an integrated system, there's many different factors that control who we are, what we do, and how we think, and ultimately how we act. So if you, for a long time, focus on eating very unhealthy foods, it can be very difficult to make a sustainable switch because your body develops a gut bacteria biome that is focused around continuing to feed itself with the foods that you've already been eating. And so it's steering the ship to some degree. And it can make a challenge like overcoming your own cravings, overcoming the demands of truck driving, significantly more difficult without the aid of a medication such as GLP-1 medications.
That's the acronym for the class of meds that makes up those brand names Steenblik mentioned earlier, Ozempic and the like. Truckers taking up the weight loss programs get medical evaluation as to the feasibility of including them in the program, and if so, ongoing oversight and consultation with physicians in the medical doctor network Steenblik laid out. At once, he added,
Yeah, it's no magic pill, right?
Yeah,
There is
right.
no magic pill.
But this age, for sure, it sounds like in terms of that, making the change faster than you might otherwise.
One of the things that I'm really passionate about that we're doing at Truckers Body Shop is that we're really focused on ensuring that healthcare meets truckers where they're at on their own time, because we're moving targets. Even myself as an owner operator who gets to set my schedule, I really struggle with being able to see a doctor on the road. I struggle with being able to get into a clinic, to be able to get prescription medication. So something as small as a UTI, for example, can take a week, week and a half, 2 weeks to properly address, because I'm having to balance my working schedule, when I'm stopped, whether I'm on a load, where I'm going, will I have cell service? And there's a lot of moving parts to it. And I feel like me and a lot of other owner operators feel that their health has to take a back seat to work and to the lifestyle. And by the time usually we're off the road, we want to be with family. We don't want to really focus on trying to match our home time around with meeting up with a doctor. So we designed Truckers Body Shop to be able to provide access to a physician to help them with specific conditions, and for them to be able to get that medication delivered to them on the schedule that works for them, so they don't have to compromise visiting with their family or doing what they need to do.
So we're talking telehealth appointments and kind of scheduled deliveries at various locations, wherever you might need them to be, and for prescriptions and the like.
When I got into the trucking industry, I encountered a whole lot of deceptive practices. And I decided that as I was going to found my business, what I wanted to do was leave the BS out of everything and include transparent upfront pricing. And I also wanted it to be fair. And what I found as I started this business inside of the telehealth space, there's a lot of cost that is offset to the end user. In this case, it would be the driver, through social media marketing. It can cost a company like mine anywhere from $500 to $1,000 per person to find a patient. And I didn't want to have to offset that onto the drivers who join our program. So I designed a model that was specifically made to cover the cost of paying the doctors a fair wage, cover the cost of manufacturing the medications that they could be prescribed, and to cover a small margin that is enough for us to grow the company and add on more helpful services to truck drivers. It's cash-based. And the way the model works is our biggest focus is on enrolling people in the weight loss program in order to help tackle the obesity epidemic inside of trucking. Because of that, that one is a membership model. It comes with access to a lot of resources. It comes with access to an app and tools and a roadmap to being able to navigate the difficulties of being over the road, and weight loss medications delivered with a personal plan, with unlimited access to a doctor, all on your schedule, all on demand. You don't have to do a video appointment unless your state requires you to. And that's subject to state by state regulations. But with all that being said, you also get access to discounts for our other medical therapies, such as help with quitting smoking, such as sexual wellness, such as getting help with hair loss, all through prescription medication. Now, the other therapies Oh, I should mention, you can cancel your membership at any time. The only way we cannot reimburse you is if you have paid and you have scheduled your medications, whether it's a 1 month or 3 month, to be sent. If they are out and sent at that time, we're just not legally allowed to recompensate you for that. There's regulations against it. When it comes down to the other programs, they are month by month or 3-month intervals. I believe some of them go up to 6 months in certain therapies. However, they are not memberships. We designed the membership model because it also allows us to be able to include a referral program. That way, truckers who want to save money on their medication can refer their friends and family to engage with our program to also take control of their health and receive a discount on the cost of their medication. I believe it's $50 for every person that you refer. You save them $50, and you can refer an unlimited number of people. That's the pricing structure, and we've designed it to be as grassroots as possible because we believe that the proof of who we help and how we help them is going to do the talking for us. When I first started exploring how to build this, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. And I was also working 10 to 14-hour days.
Right.
So, starting at square one, I initially tried to recruit a bunch of individual doctors and quickly realized that that really wasn't going to do the trick. And then I needed to find another way around this. And I spoke with many different large, established, and credentialed doctor networks to make sure that the one that we picked would be the right fit for truck drivers. And I found not many of them were, but we settled on one in the end. That's very astute. We did find one doctor network in particular that not only had a good understanding of the lifestyle of truck drivers, but they worked with a number of organizations in the past, third parties and
Yeah.
trucking companies. And
But they're basically like they underlie the just the all the telehealth appointments that folks will set up through the program and prescription writing, et cetera, et cetera.
Truckers Body Shop sits in the middle of all of the experts, and we're able to provide our tools and our resources and our experience in order to be able to make sure that established incredible companies and pharmacies and medical manufacturers are able to provide the services necessary to meet the needs of our people. And we are able to aid in the scheduling process as well with our support team so that we're able to deliver on our promises. If somebody joins the medical weight loss program, they get unlimited access to their doctor.
Yep.
And it covers all of those medical appointments. There's no hidden fees. The only thing that may happen for a driver is if they meet with their doctor and their doctor, it's uncommon, but if their doctor decides that if they want to move forward with prescribing a certain medication, they may want lab testing, and that can be sent to the driver on their time or for an order that they can fulfill with. But the labs are an extra cost, and we keep them at cost.
Drivers that do have insurance wouldn't really apply to this, I guess.
I'll tell you what, as an owner operator, I have found that insurance is a nightmare in many scenarios. I don't feel that the insurance and healthcare system has our best interests at heart. Give you a good example. I might get angry talking about this. I don't feel like it has our best interests at heart because I spent $20,000 on an MRI because I had a contractor insurance policy that was offered to me by a group telling me that it would be great for truck drivers, especially small business owners like me, and that what would happen is it would function like a PPO, and I could get coverage in network wherever I was. And I followed their in-network provisions. I showed up at a hospital, and an MRI that I could have paid $2,000 to $3,000 for out of pocket cost me $20,000, because once a hospital or medical provider understands that you have insurance, they get to set their own prices, right? And that, I think, is highly immoral, and I don't want anything to do with it. And I don't want there to be a situation where a driver has unexpectedly high fees, or we have to try and convince an insurance company as to why this driver deserves care, when we can just keep this as cheap and as effective as possible.
To that end, Truckers Body Shop introed a new kit just this month that regular readers may have caught in the Overdrive Gear section a couple of weeks back. When Steenblik and I talked just prior to its release, he described it this way.
We have a really exciting new part of our offerings that we're working on right now, in the same vein, for the same reason. I've seen drivers have small issues like UTIs just go completely out of control, and then they turn into kidney infections. Kidney infections turn into sepsis, and it just puts them out of commission. And then it becomes a massive hospital bill that they struggle to recover from while dealing with the consequences of that health at the same time. And we're putting together an offering that will come out soon that allows us to make it so that drivers don't have to deal with downtime. They can get essential medications, a field guide delivered to them that they can keep in their truck, that empowers them to be able to keep small problems from becoming big problems that just take them down. And they'll also have unlimited access to a doctor to help navigate whatever situation they find them in.
The kit's called Medi-Ready, and as a benefit of the Truckers Body Shop membership, you can read about via a link I'll post in the show notes for this podcast. Here's a big thanks to Garrett Steenblik for his story, and again, find more about the company at truckersbodyshop.com. Here's a big thanks for listening. Overdrive Radio is a production of Overdrive, the voice of the American trucker. It's edited and produced by me, Todd Dills, acoustic guitar and other support of trucker-songwriter Long Haul Paul Marhofer. The theme is Legend of the Snake Man by Marhofer, featuring the guitar work of Travis, Snake Man himself, Whammock, Terry Two Socks Richardson on bass, keys by Tishomingo Jim Whitehead, and on drums, Andrew Marshall. The podcast is backed up further by Overdrive's own social media coordinator, Jasmine Campbell, news editor Matt Cole, executive editor Alex Lockey, and video editors Lawson Rudisill and Andrew Glenn. See you next time.